It's lit up now.
Oh,
Ah,
I think it's the first time knowledge seekers are spread over 3, 4 different parts. So
yeah, it's interesting to bring everyone together in the conversation here. It's good. We'll have to remember to keep our microphones off when we're not speaking, so that to try to keep the background noise down. And otherwise, we're pretty much ready to go here with the 15th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. So we can officially begin now, I think, and we're connecting with knowledge seekers from several different locations now, and with Mr. Keshe as well. So we'll see what news we have this week, and I'm sure we'll find out a bit about the trip to the Vatican that the knowledge seekers had, and we have there's a movie that's presented in the Facebook pages about that, and about some other celebrations that were happening, such as in Bulgaria. There's a movie from people dancing in Bulgaria that were gathered in the support of the Mr. Keshe's work with the peace invitation um, in Italy, at the Vatican actually. So maybe we can hear a little more about that, and I'm sure we'll also hear about there's, the way I understand it, June 30th will be, uh, there's an invitation gone out to the world leaders, especially religious leaders, to have a peace conference at that time. So if we could get more details about that, that would be great as well. And anything else that is news at this spaceship? Well, not at the Institute. It is spread out right now, but whatever news from Italy that we can glean right now. So, okay, I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Keshe, I guess, and you can direct how you please.
yes, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Um, at the moment, I'm still staying back in Rome, even though the rest of the knowledge seekers gone back up to North Italy, to the foundation or to where they live. We are still awaiting for a confirmation from Vatican in response to the invitation. At this moment, it's nearly 3 days we handed the document in. Hopefully, we'll receive a response today or tomorrow, yes or no. It has to be understood that we did not just give the document of the invitation of the letter and the invitation card to His Holiness the Pope, but the whole package of the peace process and where the humanity goes was handed over. This is the second time the package has been handed to the Vatican, and we hope that we'll receive a positive move, not necessarily attending the foundation peace process. The webmasters are in the process, or they have already sent the invitations to the rest of the world religious leaders. We've been assured that the one which is to be handed to His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei will be done or has already been done, hand-delivered this week, as we have access directly into this structure. As you know, Iran is a peaceful nation, and we hope we receive the support from His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei. The rest of the invitation goes to the Jewish rabbi leader in Tel Aviv, to the other Catholic and Christian leaders around the world. And we have to wait and see. We have put a benchmark of the 30th. As I said last time, we don't expect the religious leaders to change program, but it gives us a benchmark to meet. Um, we have to see what the response is and how the response will come from different countries and different nationalities. Hopefully, before I leave Rome today, I will have an answer either way. The whole concept behind this invitation is not to force the religions to come together, but is to encourage the base structure of the unification of the religions in the way that they can change the course of humanity. Um, a lot of people have a misconception about religious ceremonies and religious beliefs of people. It has become more and more apparent how influential the religious organizations are in respect to all aspects of life. Even politicians in parliaments cannot pass a law if it's not passed or accepted by the religious leaders within the country. This is something people think that they can pass all the laws. Or when the politicians pass laws in nations, in most of the governments, at the end of it, it goes to the ethic committees or how the religious people look at it in respect the law to the religion. So the religious beliefs in every section of the world, doesn't matter where you are, they have the final say in the affairs of a nation. And this is something a lot of people don't realize. Without a doubt, 99% of the world's rules and regulations, laws, are final say signing is passed by the ethic committee, what they call religious, or how does it fit into the religion that the people can accept. And as I showed last week, and I read to you the 12th communication of the 2012 of the religious leaders, even before G8 and G12 meet, they are consulted and advised by the religious leaders. So it means that at highest levels, all the presidents, all the world leaders get a guidance or confirmation of what they need from the religious leaders. So we have gone to the root of the problem and the root of the solution. The root of the problem is by dividing man in different faiths, a lot of people have made a lot of money. Now by unifying it, they still make a lot of money, but for the humanity. In the coming lectures on 21st and 22nd, this Saturday, Sunday in Italy, we will open new chapter in some sections of the science, which a lot of it will go back to the ethics of the religious leaders, how they will perceive it and how they support it or they decline it. Because without the religious leaders in this world at this moment, there is no solution for humanity. And they know it and they use it for their own benefit, what it suits them. Now we have to bring to the light to them that your interest or your section of interest does not count, but the whole humanity as a whole counts. As I said, we don't expect anybody on the 30th. That's obvious. That was known, but it's a benchmark. When we gave the World Peace Treaty the first time, nothing happened. When we invited the world ambassadors, we saw the pressures which we came under. When we did it for a second time, the pressure were less, but the success was there. So this is the first round of the invitation. And with science, technology, we will, in one way or another, bring the world religious leaders together. The explanation is very simple. The day before we go to Rome and the knowledge seekers came down, I like to thank them all for being there. And the people who came from different countries, we were about 10, there were about 16 of us around the table. at the lunch, because we went for lunch after we handed over the documents. It was beautiful to see how humanity can come together in a simple way. I explained, as I said before, the day before, to the knowledge seekers. I called them on Sunday, and I said to Ivan, reactor number, what we call E, which is a core, metal core, all of you are familiar with the star formation, has achieved 12 Gus.
Good morning,
Good
Sivan.
morning, Ivan. Ivan, we are online.
Okay, great.
So we have achieved 12 Gus, and that was the first time this reactor achieved this condition in three-dimensional, which means on X, Y, and Z axis, without interfering with other reactors. So what does this mean? This means that for the first time we have achieved plasma without putting anything in but creating the condition. We created the condition on Friday before we leave. John and Marco and Arman, they all loaded the reactor the way it was supposed to be set, and one of the reactor responded. So we've seen the pattern. I think the foundation in the research lab soon will achieve the full lift in the star formation now that one reactor has responded. So can somebody switch the background noise off? Hello?
I think it was me. I'll put my microphone off.
Yeah, so now you have to realize why we made this step to go to Rome. We are achieving huge gains in science and knowledge in past few weeks. These especially and deliberately being kept away from the front information. As the knowledge seekers know how I work, I always explain. It's not the matter of releasing information, it's a matter of when you release the information and how you release the information. We have become good at this. We take advice from political and diplomatic advisors which support and advise us. And in so many ways, by achieving lift and taking man to a space, man will be forced to accept the one religion, one path of God. Because in the space, we will see the creation and we see the process of the creation, and we will understand the truth about the creation. So very soon, this division of worship by man will become dilapidated by man himself due to science and technology, due to the knowledge which the technology brings about. In coming contact with world or the universal creations, we will find out why, how long, how much we have wasted time and lives and energy in what is literally a facade on the structure of the buildings, not in the heart and the soul of the man. Our souls know what is correct. It's just that the physicality has kept us apart. In a very short time, as I always say, the religious leaders will follow the science, the new science, what it brings, not for them to be left out to keep their faith. We have given a way out of it with this invitation, that they can bring things together. They can bring the beliefs together, that we enter a new cycle of life for man in a peaceful way. And if it's not done, if we know the 30th nobody will turn up, we already have a date for the second one, we know they will turn up. But when they turn up for the ones which they're gonna be there, they will not be there as leaders in world peace and unification of the religions. They'll be there as subordinates because they have to fit into the structure which the new cycle has brought in. And this is for them. We understand the structure, we understand the way it's going to happen. But as I always say, when you put something out the first time, they say, oh, this is nothing. But even part of the things which we will announce this Saturday, Sunday, will force a lot of new ways in humanity. We show some things in structure, and we show some things in how the things are going to be. The major point now is not to follow trying to bring world leaders and religious leaders on the table. This is finished. We put a line onto it on Monday when we delivered the papers. We gave the invitation to world leaders. We gave the invitation to world religious leaders. And now, if we do not get any response, in a way, we try to give these people a way out, a graceful way out. But now, with the development of the technology and delivery of the technology, there is no choice but to follow the unification of man in all the structures, in bringing fairness into wealth, fairness into handling of the people, correct behavior in respect to the creator, and in the same way, correct and equal benefit for the whole humanity. As I always said, the difference between the Keshe Foundation and all the movements and organizations we've seen over decades and years is not that we talk, is that we have the technology, the knowledge, the know-how to deliver and enforce and create the condition for the change. We've seen Greenpeace, all the activities they've done over years. They were supported by the East, they were supported by the West now, when the wall, what do you call it, when the Berlin Wall came down. We've seen how things have changed overnight in Middle East. We've seen how things have changed. Iran being the axis of evils up to a few months ago when I asked, when I put the hand of peace across the table to the American officials when they requested for the key. Now in the past week, 2 weeks, we see Iran and American asking for cooperation of Iran to stop the war they started in Iraq. So you see how political has no father and no mother. It swings in the wind. Whichever the wind goes in the benefit of pocket of who, they change. With this technology, there is no benefit because everybody has what they need. So the movement of the Keshe Foundation and the science and the technology we brought and the delivery of the invitation to His Holiness Pope is the underlining of that the old structure is finished. It's no use fighting. We don't fight, we just informed. It's for them to join in. If they don't join in, now I've asked our webmasters to give us a rough guide how many times this USB key and the patterns have been downloaded. It's run to numbers which I cannot even imagine anymore how so many people are downloading this thing. Tens and tens of millions of times. People just don't download. They keep it for the future when they understand the technology. If it's not there, they can read it. Maybe they can help themselves. A scientist told me recently this has become literally the guiding line for humanity. Before, you had to go to a church to get a Bible. You had to go to a mosque to get a Quran, or go wherever to get a holy book. Now, the book, which is the ethics of the man, because we gave the man every physicality he needs through these patterns, all his needs are fulfilled. The only thing it leaves him with is a servitude, how he can serve, because he can do whatever he likes. Today, by lunchtime, I will receive a, what do you call it, a report from the a new analysis and the development in the technology, which we'll announce it on Saturday, Sunday. I received an email with a picture yesterday from the people who work with the foundation in situation with Fukushima. The gentleman has, as I told you, we are collaborating very closely in this respect with the Japanese. They've taken a picture with a material from the Keshe Foundation outside Fukushima plant, and the picture says, take your picture with him, says, I'm outside the plant. So we are opening doors. We know what's happening. But at the same time, we cannot lose the sight that we don't become like the past. Hypocrisy cannot take over, but it has to be logical, correct, and fair for everyone. This is the problem. This is the change. I was staying in Rome for certain reasons, which we explained as the knowledge seekers went back to finalize certain things, which is to do with the structure of the foundation. Why we had to do this is because this is putting an end to the old structure. The whole Italian structure, government officials understand it. So we are receiving collaboration to bring an end to an old way. But this thing takes time. It's not a magic. It's not going to a circus and putting two rings which are separated back together and they unify. This needs time. It needs understanding, not by us, but by the world leaders, religious leaders, and mainly by public. Public have to understand what is in position, or what is in hand, what is to come and what is to change, and how we need to adjust. You cannot say is equal, everything fair, so everybody can have a car tomorrow. Everybody can have as much food and drink as you like. We have to put the structure into it to bring the balance in. It takes time, few months, few years. A lot of people want the change today. I speak with Elia, who I thank her. She drove all the way from Bulgaria to be with us in Vatican, and she says we want the change now. If we give the change now, 99.9% of the people don't understand it, and then they want it, they get it, and the mayhem will be more. It needs time to educate, and the education system for it is getting set up, but it won't be years and years. It's a matter of months and time for people to join, to understand, and to do it. The whole structure has to be correct. I don't rush. I don't run around to do things just to please people. I do things in the structure we see has to be done that the man can understand. If people thought we go to Vatican when we give the invitation, the Pope will jump up and down. Yes, we will come. This is a fairy tale. You got to understand what this means. What this means, giving this invitation, and as it's an invitation, the letter of invitations are already on the internet. I know because the Italians videoed it. We will release the original copy very soon. The copy of the original once I get back to the Sansano. The change is huge, even for Vatican. You read the letter in my name. We read where does the humanity go from here on. You read the peace process, the letters which you released over past 2-3 years. This means the end for the guides and guidance of the religious leaders. This is exactly what it means. When a man, when a pope, when a imam, when a priest accepts that all the religions are one and have to work in one direction, not by name but in reality, the way what is in the invitation, it means the time of their guidance for past 2,000 years, for past 1,500 years, for past 4,000 years as religious leaders has come to an end. This means that they have to accept now they are here in the transition time to bring the followers of their path of belief into unifying with others. They cannot put their ropes and things down tomorrow and say, yes, that's it, Messiah is here, or this is a time for a change. They are needed for the transition. They are needed to educate people what this transition time is. It's no use to starting a new religion, a new sect, and a new path. We use the path which is already there to do the job smoothly. It's not the time when a new religion comes, everybody else is wrong and everything else is up to not being wrong. We found a new way. No. The path is we are all correct, but we have to find a way, the way it's got to be done, the way it suits the humanity, not names. And this is where the change is. This is what we're talking about. If people think that Ayatollah Khamenei comes and says, oh, the Messiah has come, it's the end. Pope will say, this is the end. No. We need these people to, through the channels which has been established over hundreds of years, thousands of years, to guide people the correct way in a smooth, peaceful way. We know what we are doing. It's been done before. This is not a test run, but it has to be done the way that men get together with love and care, not because they have to. Because they have to, then it brings the problems of the past. It's temporary. They do it because they want to and they care, it will be permanent. This is the purpose of this letter, this purpose of this invitation. A lot of people ask me, can you explain what it means in the letter of in my name? Can you talk more about the spirituality? The spirituality comes from equalness of the fairness between the physicality and the soul. There is no difference. When you understand the level that your soul exists and you live that life in physicality, then you understand the purpose of creation. Now it's time to give for these, what they called religious leaders, to understand this process. The problem is not the religions and the names. The problem is the people who saw they can influence and use their power to abuse others. Now we will see, in time we will see what the outcome will be. As I said before, the knowledge which has been delivered will force the change. Not the swords, not the guns, not the battleships. And the religious leaders, for them to understand this, needs a lot of change. I was walking, as you know, I'm in Rome for 2-3 days. We have to wait for a process which is going on in respect to the foundation. Wherever we walk, wherever we sit, wherever we are in Rome, we see nothing but priests and nuns. What is the purpose of these people? They walk, and the only thing you know that are different is the clothes they wear. I have seen the same behavior from them as the rest. So they are no different. But the only difference in them is they are supposed to guide the physicality to reach the level of the soul. But these people have already lost their own way. How can they guide the others? This is the problem. They come to a restaurant, they come to a place, a shop. They expect to be treated different. So the cause of the problem already sits in their own behavior. And this is what we see with all the religious leaders, be it in any name of path of God you put it in. Why? By putting a cloth on, you expect separation and being higher. And this is what is going to be changed. This is what I explained to some of the knowledge seekers and some people recently. When you're in a space, the craft is limited, with 200 meter being 500 meter in diameter. You can't have a palace in one corner and have a ghetto in the other corner. Ghettos are finished. So we are all equal on this board of this new cycle of the ship. People don't understand the change, but the change has already been set. When you sit in a plane to go from one country to another, the guy who's just managed to scrape some money to go to another country to save his life for cancer or operation sits in the same plane, in the same gap, in the same box as the richest man in the world, because even sometimes nowadays the presidents and the prime ministers fly in this in what they call it commercial flights. So there is no difference, and this is what man hasn't understood. And in a space, there is no money. You can't buy somebody for, can I give you 100 million? You give me your room, and I give you 10 million. You give me your shoes, because everybody is on the same level. This is the what we try to bring with this peace process, with this peace actions, by delivering letters to the world leaders and then the religious leaders. World leaders are the body, and the religious leaders are the path to the soul. And if you don't bring them together, we don't succeed, because one influences the other. And no nation, as I said from the beginning, all the time for years, no nation and no path will be better than the other, as the whole world becomes one nation and one path. This is the problem. This is where the change will come. And I hope we achieve it. I don't hope, I know we achieve it, but it'll be in my lifetime. It won't be beyond my lifetime. We'll take man to space in the correct way, and we take man into space as one, not as different colors and shapes and beliefs. Because then, if we don't go, we already put the seed of division and problem for the future. Um, I was watching the World Cup. As a lot of people know, I'm a football fanatic, and the the way we support the nations or the language support group we come from in these groups, in these teams. And we start with uh, so many teams, and then we support those teams originally because they are from where we come from or the team we like. As these teams into the second league disappear, some of them, we start choosing a new ones because we think a part of this new one will be one of the top guys. And then we go into the second round, third round, and then the number reduces. Now we support only 6 or 8 because now we have less and less. And then we choose the top 4 that we see who's going to be the best. But the whole football supporting nation watches all the games as they reduce. And then we watch the final to see who becomes, and then we win, oh, Brazil or this country or that country, they become world champion. Okay, they are the champions. This is the way the religions, this is the way the belief, and this is the way our work will come. As more and more we'll see the development of the technology, the more taboos of the past will go away, and then they become one. This takes time. It doesn't come by healing one person. As we see how the amalgamate become one, we disappear in numbers, we become totality. And that's where the success and the unification will come. We are more or less in the last section. We are in the top 4 fighting for their place, as I call it, in the religious world. And once these 4 come to put their table cards on the table that all this is just in the same path, then we achieve it. And that point is where we are now. And this peace invitation by the religious leaders is to finalize and tighten the last screw in the table. This is the last move, because after this move, there is nothing but unification through science. And when the unification through the science comes, and when you come into a space, there are not different religions in the space. It's only one, and that's the worship towards the Creator. And when man comes to understand this in a very short time through being able to take into space and at the same time recognize the people who've been amongst us because they had to take refuge on this planet, then we understand where the problem has been. The problem has been the greed of those who, by meager tangibility of properties and money and title, have lost the way of the man for themselves, for their own benefit. Sorry to talk a little bit too much, but I get a lot of emails, people asking, can you explain more where we're going? What's the reason for this move? And I hope I made it very clear. If I receive communication from any of the religious leaders, we'll announce it. Because if they do it with pride. If they don't respond, it means they are shying away, they want to keep the same path, or they don't know what to respond. It's not easy for a pope to put a line on the 2,000 years of methods of worship. Meeting with Keshe Foundation, meeting with the knowledge seekers, it brings a recognition which they cannot accept. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do with Vatican? What are they going to do with all the churches they built, and there's so many injustices has been done? Accepting this is mean underlining the work of 2,000 years, 1,000 years, or 3,000 years, 6,000 years of injustices, and they don't want to be responsible for. This is where the problem is. So, as we say in English, it's just passing the bucket to the next one. As I said, I given nearly 5.5, 6 hours interview to Italian televisions, which will be broadcasted in the near future. By accepting this world peace, by accepting the peace process, it means an end to a path of belief and separation by name by these religious leaders. It means an end to their own job. How can somebody sign his own job out? He needs a brave man, and he needs a correct man. How can somebody says, I resign from this position which I supported all my life? The two things, we're going to dogfight it, or we're going to resist it or ignore it. There is no fight in the foundation. We will not fight. We give it free. We encourage peace and peaceful actions, because there is no need for hypocrisy of the past. A lot of people tell me, why don't you release your book number 9, The Structure of the Soul? Because if I release The Structure of the Soul, which part of it has written, a lot of religious leaders today will commit suicide, will disappear, because every man will understand where he stands in respect to himself and to his creator and the rest of the universe. And the beauty of it is, now every man can teach himself. You don't need a guidance, you don't need a priest, you don't need a rabbi, you don't need anything else. But in this transition point, we need the support and the help of these people who the weak listen to, till the weak become strong and understand that they're equal to the rest. Weak is not physicality, is in the soul, in the essence of connection between the physicality and the soul. And this is where the new teaching, new cycle of life comes. There'll be no Bibles, there'll be no Qurans, there'll be no books written that will become the new guideline. The new guideline is within the soul of the man and its connection with the physicality of the man. And in so many ways, I've written so many things to put that structure. There is no punishment. If you don't bend 10 times, you get punished, you go to hell. There is nothing, if you don't eat this food that day, it'll be something wrong. These are all made by people to control. When you put condition, you bring control, and the control, it means somebody has to be the boss. Then there is inequality. This is how the new order is. The judge and the jury sits within the heart of the man and in connection with his physicality and his soul. Now you tell me why the Pope would not respond. In responding and attending a meeting in the clothes of the man, then he underlines his position and he resigns from his position as a man who's been the cause of the separation by the name of God for a group of men on this planet. And this is where the changing comes. We have time. It's them who have a cycle and time of life, physicality. The process is very simple, but it has to be understood. If it's not understood, it'll become hypocrisy. If he understood and he explained through the structure which is already exists to the other people, then people, they know where they are going. You can't take the head of a religion away and say, he says, I resign because the Messiah has come. What's going to happen with 2 million, 2.2 billion followers of Christianity? Through Vatican, through Catholic Church, through the Orthodox religion, through all passages of different beliefs, the public has to be informed and informed in how and where the humanity goes without abusing the humanity. We need that structure. The structure is there. Why to destroy it? This is why we approach the religious leaders, for them to start the process of teaching of the unification and bringing everything in, that man is ready to go into space in the correct way. This is what the object of this invitation is, and don't expect that the world religious leaders will jump in and be there queuing to see and be there to sign World Peace Treaty. First thing is that they have to resign their own position. Then they have to work in the same office in the clothes of a man, not in the clothes of a structured cloth cut. And this brings a lot of change. When a pope can walk amongst the man in the clothes of the man and inform man the correct way, that's the time when there is no separation and the man will listen. We've seen so many times religious leaders, political leaders come temporarily together for their own financial benefit, and at the end of it, they're given a peace prize, Nobel Peace Prize, that they started something, and then after Nobel Peace Prize is gone. We've seen it with Netanyahu, we've seen it with Bush, we've seen it with all the people that we've given the World Peace Prize. But the funniest thing is, the Nobel Peace Prize, this money comes from killing people. How can people accept the Nobel Prize where the prize is based on the company which built and still is involved in essence in building dynamites, bombs to kill man? It's the story of, a lot of people don't know how Nobel Prize came about. Noble family were the developers and manufacturers of mines, dynamites. And by coincidence, the gentleman reads the obituary of his brother, but the reporter made a mistake. He wrote the obituary of the brother who was alive in the name of the one who's dead. And he said what a horrible man he was, that he caused so much death and everything. And he said, oh, is this how people are going to think about me? I'm going to make something people think I'm a good guy. So he made the Nobel Prize. So people who receive the Nobel Prize receive blood money. And we become so ignorant to this fact that we are praising murderers by the money which is caused killing. And we carry that name. What's noble about this? That's why it has no meaning. If you get a prize from Mandela or United Nations for your contribution to humanity, that counts. People who are around me, they know. I've been told, and I always say, Nobel Prize is the most shameful prize to be given to a man and a man to accept. That's how far the humanity has gone. So what's the use? The man who caused makes landmines, dynamite, he wanted to help the miners, but it's used to killing man, and they found that they can make more money out of it. Organizes a prize and gives to the people who actually, if you look, all the people who got the Peace Prize, most of them are connected to a lot of killings. So we are leveraging okay, now they put a science to it, they put economy to it, but in reality it's still blood money. Doesn't matter who heads it and how it's being given. It's a shame on those people who accept these prices because they try to ignore the reality how it came. It's the same situation now. We work for peace. We work for peace through technology, peaceful application of technology. We will not allow it to happen. It's a joy to see how some nations are using it in a different way, how it can be used in a different way, how since we moved out of Belgium, the technology, the foundation has taken a different dimension because by suppressing it, allowed us to build the structure, the basic structure. You bring the website down, you bring the, what do you call it, the forum down, you bring this down, there is a plans to assassinate. But this might not change because the essence, the knowledge and the spirit and the soul of the science has been passed on to millions of people. So we hope we receive a good news in the coming months, not for the 30th. But we made the first move. We opened the door. It's for them to walk through it. On one side of the door, they wear the robe of the priests, the moms, the rabbis, and once they cross the door, they wear the clothes of the man with the intention to serve the man, not the robe or the clothes to frighten the man from the position. This is the difference between now and what has been. Transition through understanding, not transition through force and fear. All the religions of the past have forced us. If you don't do this, this is the punishment. You don't pray so much, you go to hell. And we made the definition for hell. The hell now has a clear definition. Where you want to be in respect, or your soul to be in respect to the other souls. You are a servant to the soul, service of the soul. And that soul accepts nothing but equality and justice. So now you plan your life the same way. The whole structure has to be understood what we are doing and how we are doing it. We delivered the physicality, now we deliver the essence of the connection, the soul. But there is a huge, a big, big question mark. Who and how these so-called making themselves elite and the religious leaders will be correct enough with their soul to be able to cross that door. And once one does, the rest will follow. But the problem is they're watching who's going to do it first. We are back in the dog race. If I come down, then the Muslims will come up. And then if Muslims come down, the Jews will go up. But the thing is, they don't understand that they all become equal. I explained this to some workshops. I can't remember which workshop or was one of my talks about how the Islamic leaders suddenly run into a problem with Keshe Foundation. When I explained in one of the workshops that when we take you to a space and the earth rotates and you are on God knows which galaxy where you are, where is your Mecca to bend to and to pray to? Unless the Mecca is in your soul and it connects to the Prophet and through him to the God. You don't need the point of worship because you cannot find it. Where are you going to be and how are you going to pray in finding your Mecca or your Vatican? So this is what the change is. We take you to a space, and in space, the point of worship is the connection between your own physicality and your soul and correctness with it. And the biggest problem with it is constantly be aware of the weaknesses of the man. This is the biggest battle. The battle doesn't come in whose religion, what faith. The battle comes in when I look at a beautiful woman belongs to another man. Is it my right? My intention? If I see a child which is hungry on the table, would I put my food in front of it, even though I see some of my food, it comes from my child, but at least another child is not hungry. If I go up the stairs and the water falls on the steps, I just walk away. Okay, somebody will clean it. Or I go down and I get a tissue and clean it, because in case somebody walks on the steps, can break the back or break the leg, then their pain is my responsibility. It's awareness of being correct. Awareness of being correct irrespective of who you are. And this takes a lot of training and a lot of understanding. Then the rest will be done. I don't expect a call from Vatican will be there on Monday, the 30th. I don't expect a call from Ayatollah Khamenei will be there. But the seed of equality has set in the brain of physicality to bring the soul to physicality. And that's all our work is. What will happen? We will see. But it needs a lot of work. It is not going to happen overnight with one invitation. It's same as what we did in Belgium. Inviting the ambassadors first time, inviting the world leaders the first time, and then inviting the world ambassadors second time. And step by step building the structure which is there. The structure takes time because we are humans. And unfortunately, unless it's not in CNN or BBC, it's not news. But the reality and the fact is everything is news according to what we want it to be the news for us. So we deliver it in time. I would like to sincerely thank all the people who came from different countries to be with us on Monday in Vatican. And those who did all the work and offered their souls and their prayers and delivered things to different religious leaders. One day, very soon, we will see the benefit of it. We will announce things according as it happens. We don't pre-inform as we were done before. There'll be a number of disclosures this weekend in the conference, which will make some things and put some things in order in respect to the foundation and respect to the world leaders and the religious leaders. Any questions?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for all that you are doing for the humanity, because I don't think I can express myself how much or how to thank you. My question is basically, wouldn't it be easier if you mentioned last week that the organization can release a knowledge which would make this religious or religion irrelevant? Wouldn't it be easier to do it that way?
Then you create a new mayhem. It'll be done in time and in a very slow pace. I explained part of it this morning. A shock does not help. A lot of people say if you do it, then become a magic show. We are doing it as part of it. We did this week with the knowledge seekers. As part of it, I explained this morning. But in the process of coming weeks and months, it'll be done as a complete cycle. The process to do it in one go will bring such a shock that the humanity is not ready for it. The humanity is not ready for such a huge change in such a short time. That's why, in a way, we've gone to the religious leaders to facilitate and build the first structure, the first step for that process. You have to understand simple things. This is what I was walking through Vatican, and I was talking to people were with us, some of them. You look at all these priests, you look at all these religious leaders, all the ones who work in these robes. They are given a home, a job, the clothing, a shelter, food at no cost. How many of these do you think they're going to say yes tomorrow morning and put them down? Where are they going to find shelter? Where are they going to find a job? They have no skill. Some of them, their skill has been in cheating the man to allowing a, as the one said in England last couple of weeks ago, to the cardinal, that he didn't know raping a child was a crime. They don't know nothing but crime, but in the cloth of the robe of a priest or holy man. These people are the ones who object to the change, and that's why we need the change to come the way we planned it. And it's not one or two of them, it's thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them, in different name of the path, cloth of worshipping God. You think they're gonna put the rope down tomorrow and say Messiah has come? We're gonna prove it. The first thing they think, okay, I say yes, I know yes, but who's gonna feed me? Where is my clothing coming from? Where is my shelters gonna come from? The problem is not just coming and talking. Yes, religions are one. The opposition comes from these people who are going to lose their free lunch, and nobody's going to lose free lunch, not in this economical time. This is the problem. The attacks, the fights, the opposition will come from those who are used to these free lunches and free living on the back of other people's hard work. Whatever name you want to put on it. All these fancy robes, you buy a suit, it costs you 200, 300 euros, dollars. All these suits are given free. All these homes, electricity, everything is given free. You think they're going to give up? You must be a child. You understand? We have to
Yes,
bring
sir.
the change in a very slow pace that people understand how they've been abused, but people have the means to understand and the tools to be able not to be abused. The change is huge, but it has to be done in a slow way, because otherwise half of the priests will be slaughtered and half of these, what I mean priests are not in Catholic or in Christianity, in all religions, yeah, in how they have used man to abuse man. So the change has to come when the man becomes free physically, and through this technology which we deliver, that they can produce their own essentials, need not to look in the hand of another man to feed him, that they can control him. Then they can feed their own soul. The lecture in on Saturday and Sunday in two parts. It'll be very eye-opening. I explained part of it in a way we are going to do it with Marco, in opening the eye of the man into how we're doing it, because Marco has done a lot of work doing the PowerPoint and putting it together for Saturday. Uh, then you understand how it works in giving a man a confidence in how to achieve it. A few people have understood, I see around the foundation and the people who are around different works, but they even haven't understood the totality of it. And when the man starts understanding the totality of it in the coming days and weeks and months, then we move to the next step. Then you can, even the priest can make his own energy and his own electricity, that is not afraid that I have to protect something to have a shelter. This um, Ivan was talking to me a couple of days ago, saying, in the roadmap, you say by September you'll be able to keep people sheltered through the Oasis system. We are on target. We'll achieve it. But the problem was, again, like even in the institute, in the knowledge seekers, the expectation of achieving went too high because I was there to guide, but the expectation went too high, but there was no fundamental knowledge at the base of the foundation. The knowledge seekers come in with a materialistic point of view, not understanding the plasma, but they're trying to enforce one knowledge which is wrong to another. As a guide, I have to tolerate and I have to accept, but at the same time, I have to push for the further knowledge for them to understand in the long run. We see it the same. After a few weeks there, they think they know everything and they start criticizing their own way. Criticism has to be there, but with knowledge, not with the ignorance of the knowledge. This is part. We are not going to be any different than other organizations. People come to us for their own clandestine, needs or position they think they're going to have. Those who come to serve with pure heart, to serve humanity, to learn and be there, they will stay and they will serve and they will teach. You will see a flow of knowledge seekers coming and going. And again, you will see still start juggling for position, juggling for a job with the foundation. These things are open to us because we are independent of it, we are aware of it, we sit outside it. We will see all the what we call monkey business. Till all the man become the same, we still will find people who are looking for position. Just being close to the foundation. I try to deter and stop this. A lot of you know or you don't know, but I tell you something which is a lot of people around us know this. A couple of years ago, last year before, when we used to give a talk in the foundation center, a gentleman came to me and he said he's Professor so and so. Has he got the permission to talk to me? I said, excuse me, have I got the permission to talk to you? Why do you need the permission to talk to me? He said, that gentleman there said to me, if I want to talk to you, I have to speak to him to get the permission. I said, I only said hello to this man twice in my life. How does he allow himself to be now dictating to you how, as a professor, you need the permission to speak to me? I need the permission to speak to you as a scientist. This is how people juggle for position, even within the foundation. Just because they say hello to somebody once, now they control other people. Oh, I know him better. It won't be any different till these men get educated that we are all the same. I've seen this several times around foundation. By becoming close, they try to get a position and advantage point. But we are all the same. That's why I eat and live and work with the knowledge seekers. I share my knowledge with people freely. Because I'm aware there is no difference in level of humanity. We're all the same. But I realized when you're too approachable with some people, they misread your openness. And we try to deter this. The same problems will come to the foundation if you're not fully aware of it and on top of it. I said to my wife yesterday, I said, you know, it was 16 of us around the lunch table after we came from Vatican. 4 of us was me, my wife, my son, and somebody with us. And the rest were 12 people. And among them, you could see the sincerity and why they were there. They knew what they call. It's like I said, so it's like a disciples with 12 disciples around the table. But this is not should be that way. Every single one of you around the world who is working towards giving this information is one of your disciples of humanity, not a faith, not a sect, not a foundation. This is where we have to be always aware of. And this is where the change will come. When we all behave and live the same way. In my position, I have to accept certain things, certain parameters for protection of my life. But I always even emphasize on that. That should not be. We should be among people, to be with people that they understand how to be. But the time and the situation and nature we are in at the moment, we are kept some isolated and we keep ourselves away from harm. But we should be amongst people for people to see there is no difference between the man in the clothes of the man. Next question.
If I may,
Carry on.
in a couple of workshops you mentioned that when someone goes through the principal stars, your physicality does not have to be destroyed,
Yeah.
but sometimes people may have to be put in quarantine because of their own personal reasons. Could you please explain that a little bit?
When you go through specific fields and you have a mixture of fields, you have to realign all the fields. It's like me putting you to a process and your eyes or your legs get left behind because they have a different field structure. You have to bring everything into the same level that you can cross. Otherwise, you have pieces will be left behind or will not transfer through. This is what exactly what happens, because your body, every single cell of your body is made of the plasma, and in each plasma there is a full principle, transition, and matter, strength, and submatters, and more. All have to change at the same time together to be able to go through. Half of the plasmas in, let's say, in your arm cannot be in the principal strength, and the other half in the matter condition. Needs time to adjust, and you have to do it. It needs adjustment. It's like what they call quarantine. It means holding till everything reaches the same point. It depends on the interaction and the atomic structure, as you call it, that all are on the same level. The ones which are more matter have a harder time to transfer. It's like bone structure is more matter than GANs. But the GANs will transfer very quickly, but the matters will have a problem. So there is a way that the body will change accordingly, waits for the matter to interact internally. This is one of the things which knowledge seekers have seen in past few weeks, but they never realized it. Understanding the process. I was explaining to Yvonne, I went to the lab a few days ago, and I saw moisture in a specific point structure on the floor of the lab. None of the knowledge seekers noticed it. None of them. To them, they are so busy with physicality, they are not aware of the effect of physicality. They just walk in, and this has to be, gases has put there, matter has to be there, and they are in such a hurry. I usually go and open the lab early in the morning to look at the structure before it's what I call tampered with, before they come in and start changing things and doing things. Because that way I understand what is happening, what's the position, what is going on. We start usually at 10 o'clock. Sometimes go in the lab 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I stay there a few minutes. I observe everything which is happening before it's tampered with, before it's worked with. Then you understand the real process. Then when they come, I'm aware of what's happening. I'm aware of what is about to happen. But this is part of the process of learning. The knowledge seekers have missed up to now minimum 3 opportunities to achieve full lift through their lack of understanding of the work of the plasma. But that's the part of the process. If I say, oh, this is flown, it's the same. They built all this GANS material, they built all the things, and they haven't fully understood what's going on. And the machine, the systems are there for nearly 2 months just producing. But the process, the reality, what is implicated, what's applicable, has not understood. It's not understood. And then if you understand that, even just go back on the copper oxide GaNs in the salt. That GaNs, you can take it through the principle because it's a plasma. But the solid copper, which is in that water, which is producing the GaNs, is still in the matter state. You cannot transfer it so easily through because it has a physical bonding and boundage between other electrons and protons inside in different formation. So it gets destroyed, it gets totally opened up in a much more rapid way, and it gets you have no center. So even if you look in your GaNs cups, you have a process where at the bottom you collect these bubbles of GaNs of Cu or whatever. That bubble is a plasma. For it to go through transition or through principle state strength is nothing because it's part of itself. But doing it with a matter copper which just came off in the same compartment, it's a different story. So you need to understand. You need the transition time that all the copper is transferred to GaNs, then you can take it through. And then there is a process at the end, you can convert the GaNs to matter if you need to. You don't need to carry the body of the man across the space. If you carry one structure atom of the man, you can replicate the man physically anywhere in the universe. It's the soul which carries the body, not the body which carries the soul. And this is a misconception in the world of creation. I have explained, and I try to explain more to the medical people who understand the medical aspects of the technology, how and why we change in the womb of the mother as a fetus to bones and brain. I start teaching the medical side more and more to the doctors. Now we have a permission to open a health center in one of the European countries by the government. We'll open it, and the health section of the technology becomes officially official center for all health applications. Wherever you are in Europe, you can go to that country and receive all the healthcare which you need through the foundation. We'll announce it very soon. I have to finalize the last bits and then it'll be done. It's not from the government official side, it's from the foundation side. We have to organize bits. Then you understand how you can change things, how you can go from one position to another, how you can change part of the what you call, as I said, like a fetus. A fetus, you say, is in DNA. That it just suddenly out of nowhere, this sponge of blood finds bones and finds brain. But in the lab, in the teaching room, we have started showing the structure, how the vibration of the heart of the mother, how the motion of the fetus itself gives rise and position to the structure of a one core, which is called the holds the brain, and one core which holds the structure of internal intestine. That beat of the heart of the mother, if it wasn't there, the fetus does not move in the right motion and right movement that the brain structure set. A lot of people look in DNA fault with a child which is born with defects. You got to look at the physical structure and the heartbeat of the mother, because that heartbeat, that motion of the beat of the heart is the way the brain gets its structure, the way the first cells of the bone comes to become sitting where they are to become a bone. If you leave the fetus and just give it food, you will find you'll have the brain, you'll have the fetus, but you will don't have the correct assembly. That rhythm, that motion is needed. And again, world of medicine have understood. And then when you have that first brain, then you start having the soul. And then when the connection comes that the behavior of the soul in the fetus affects the fetus itself. It's a lot to teach, but it's a lot to understand before you teach.
So that's why that the fetus can't be growing outside of the womb right now.
In so many ways, yes, you're correct. If they can replicate the heartbeat of the mother, the motion of the heartbeat, because that heartbeat creates a vibration, and that vibration is needed for the structure of the brain to settle and come. If you
Well,
can
it's also a
create this,
magnetic beat too, isn't it?
everything is the heart of the mother and the physical. We are partially physical. Huh? That vibration is needed. This is on the table in the lab, in the lecture room upstairs. That a structure has risen inside the GANS powder. We injected the GANS liquid. Now a solid structure has risen inside it. And it's come because of one reason. Because I said, in time, people will come and do things in the structure of the foundation. And that structure happened a couple of weeks ago. The soul of the knowledge seekers changed in the institute, and in that change came the physical change. And now you see a mountain rise it's like it's little hill rising in the liquid, like a mountain in the dust, in the liquid of the gans of the material. I hope knowledge seekers can take a picture and show it to you. The fetus needs the what you call magnetic field of the mother's heart, but it needs the physical motion which that heartbeat creates. The heartbeat, when you hold your wrist, you feel it. That little motion is needed for the structure of the brain to be created. Without it, you don't have a perfect brain. The conversion comes. In so many ways, the doctors have to look for totality, not just what happens to the fetus. And this has never been done. This has never been done. If you try to create a fetus and create life, you have to create the total environment of life, not just the material of the life. You have to put in the vibration. You have to put the cycle of the rotation. Why even the child moves in the womb of the mother and the way it moves. And then when the heart of the child, the baby is developed, his heartbeat completes the full cycle of the brain's structure. Because every shake is just like a little, people who work with homeopathy. Why is homeopathy so close to the cycle of the man's life and does changes? Because it carries the same vibration cycle as the heartbeat of the mother to start with. That little vibration you do, you reset the structure. And the structure sets where it should be. And that's why homeopathy works. Because in shaking it in the beats, you create the same kind of cycle of beats as you do in the mother. This is where the setting comes, not from the magnetic field and the beating. The heartbeat of the mother and the heartbeat of the man, even when you are independent, you grow up and become adults and older, and then you find out you run into Alzheimer's. You get the connection between Alzheimer's and the heartbeat of the man. You'll find half of the answer in curing the man. When you get older, the heartbeat slows down. The vibration does not create the same kind of pumping for the brain, movement and emotion. So the cells move in different way, and all sorts of diseases come with all. If you can keep a heartbeat in the right conformation, in the configuration, you can live for millions of years with the correct brain, because the body will recycle itself. These are the things which we will teach in time. And this is what I do in the health side. People say you're a magician, you just give. No, we give the totality. People who've been through my process understand what we do. And I explain things. This is what
So
people don't understand. Pardon?
at what stage does the soul become into that fetus?
When the main brain is created, when the body, the fetus is in control of itself. not the physical part. The physical part has nothing to do with the soul. The emotional part is when the emotional part, which is the center part, what you call main brain, is developed, then the soul is complete. It doesn't mean that if you're born with two legs not being there or having one leg too short, you're going to be a different soul. You still have the same soul. That's exactly where physicality doesn't come into it. The the minute the emotional part of the brain, which is the connection between the soul and the man, is created, then you as a soul, you're complete. Then you are responsible. Then you are responsible for the soul you have created. This is what I explained to the knowledge seekers. They keep on rotating these stupid reactors in the core. They're changing it, but they don't understand. They have given life to a structure inside, which is a plasma, which has got its own brain and it controls things. They've seen it. The soul is inside that physical structure which is rotating. And when they can understand, they can communicate, they can interact with that soul in a different way, then they succeed. Till they don't unify, nothing will happen in that lab. Because this is not a physicality matter. Why that steel reactor shows all sorts and it works so many ways. You have to look at the soul of the man who controls it. Why other reactors are not performing, or are draining, or are giving things in. I don't look at which reactor works, I look at the plasma and the behavior of the plasma inside it. That's why I know when is the time to fly, when is the time to move. Unconditional connection creates unconditional reaction. And when the people, even knowledge seekers, learn this, then we go into the flight position. And I explained to them before, when they learn to be united and unified and wish as their own whole lot, as a part of the whole humanity, then these systems will fly. As long as you shackle one down to the ground, nothing will happen. And ask yourself one question: why one reactor is performing and showing everything which needs to be done? And look at its operator. Because the connection between the soul and physicality is complete. And they don't see it. And knowledge seekers don't understand it. They all look for a physical flight, but in reality, these systems all flying, all have a soul, and all work together, because when we pinch a bit of gas in one, the others show reaction. So they're all interconnected like a humanity. They all need to work together to be able to lift. As long as one is out and one operator thinks it's mine and I want to do it first and it's not doing, go nowhere. When it's all we want, it's all in there for it to go. It takes time. They will realize it. The humanity is the same way. It's the same. Change the operators of the reactors to the religious leaders. To fly, to achieve equal, we need all of them to work together. In reality and in purity, not just by name. I have to tell you something. I have to leave today at 10 o'clock. I have an important meeting with officials in Rome at 11 o'clock. So if you want to ask anything next 10 minutes or so, and then I have to apologize, you can go back to the knowledge seekers. They can talk with you what you want to expand on. Is there any other question?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for letting us know about that. And so, yeah, we'll carry on with questions here for Mr. Keshe for the last few minutes. I do have one question that came up in the forum that someone was asking. He says, in the 5th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, a lot of information was released. He says, however, Keshe was about to release a bombshell with, just a second here, let me get this moved over so I can read it. Release a bombshell when he said, would you want me to tell you how to easily get rid of cancer? At which point he was interrupted by the knowledge seeker's questions. He never got to finish his statement, and that is what, as far as it went.
Listen to the 21st, 22nd lecture. You'll get your answer.
Okay, that's a good answer for now.
No, it's not an
And
answer. This is what I told you. We're going to unravel a lot of things, but this one of the things we will open up, because the organizers called me, says a lot of people who are coming to the to the conference want to know about the health aspects, and in this part we will explain a lot of things. A lot of things will be opened up in how we have a full 100% solution for all cancers. There is no doubt. Any cancer we have, but you have to realize. I was told, you say you don't understand. This is insulting, but that's what I might have to. I'm trying to change it. But something which people as general have to realize is that if we release such a knowledge that how to overcome all cancers, I will not be here and the foundation will be wiped out, because a lot of financial interests are in danger. This is not that we are supporting them. We are trying to be able to, the same as we open the structure of the energy and the GANs to people in a very slow way, we try to open this to world of medicine and science in the same way. Why we have it, we don't disclose it, because in the space we'll get cancer. We had to find a solution for it. And even this morning when I left the room, I told my wife, we have a full solution for cancer, every cancer on this planet, but we cannot disclose it. She said the time will come soon, don't worry, you'll do it. Oh, she's very wise. But yeah, we are in a conference in the west of Italy. It's been announced, well announced, and I give a lecture to. No, we are part of a conference. There are other speakers, but the foundation has been given a 2-hour session on Saturday and 2-hour session on Sunday. But it looks like there could be additional session in the evening in one of the 2 days that we might offer that as a session for the medical application, because there's a huge interest in Italy and in Western Europe for what we have developed, and there are a number of doctors who are around who want to know how to expand. Very soon, as I explained to Ivan and Elia in our meetings while we were having lunch here in Rome on Monday, is that we will start teaching doctors, medical people directly in large groups in the coming days and weeks. I asked Elia to take charge of this and organize it, because normal scientists cannot understand the application of the technology in the medical side, but at the same time we have to teach the medical side the process of the technology, that they can see the related to medical. So as part of this, Elia will sort out, we start teaching a large number of doctors, and we use our new center in Europe for teaching purposes of the medical. Even if it means I have to fly to this center once or twice a month to teach doctors and show how to make systems, we start doing it. But everything needs time, and it's only one body. I cannot be in 200 places.
Right on. Now, on the weekend, how will people in the public be able to hear the program there? Will it be broadcast somehow, or come out as a DVD later or something?
I don't know. Maybe
be private.
Maybe as knowledge seekers, we will record it independently, or we organize a Skype time. We ask the organizers if we can do, and then we most probably announce it through you or through the workshop that the lectures can be listened to live on the Skype if they allow us to do so. I think it's something I've got to organize with the knowledge seekers if we can do it and if they allow us in the conference.
Yeah, it depends on how they set
We are
up
not
their
the
privacy.
organizers. We are guests. We are
Yes,
guests,
exactly.
so we have to follow.
Right. Okay, well, let us know, and we'll let people know through the Facebook channels and the usual ways.
Is there any other question? Because I have to
You
leave.
have to
I've got
go,
an important
right?
meeting.
I think
I
we
wish you
should
all
let
the
them
best.
go.
I wish you all the best, and we announce, because these meetings we've been in Rome in past 2-3 days are crucial for the Keshe Foundation in where we sit and how we are. These are political, diplomatic moves we have to make, and we understand it fully. So I thank you for all your support, and hopefully next Thursday we meet. But you got to remember, next Thursday we will finish again by 10:30. Because we have a distinguished guest from India. One of gurus of India is coming to meet us at 12 o'clock as a guest in the center. So he's arriving with his followers, about 10 of them at about 12 o'clock. So we have to finish early to be ready for their arrival.
That sounds wonderful. We'll welcome any news on that entourage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you, Mr.
Don't
Keshe.
stop sending, please. Don't stop sending this invitation to all the religious leaders. We will post a copy of it within the next couple of days. When I get back, we can open our system securely to all of you, that you can put the name of any religious name you like, the priest name, whatever, to send it to them for the 30th. If they are there by their soul, is good enough.
Right, that's the June 30th invitation, peace invitation.
Peace invitation.
Right.
For the religions. Yeah.
Yes,
Thanks very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye.
Okay, well, round 2 coming up. I guess we can open up the conversation to any of the knowledge seekers who are with us here. We have John is on board, and Yvonne, and there might be, I think, Marco's in the background with John there as well. So, I guess we should see if there's any questions that are pending. I'm looking on the live stream, and does anyone have any questions right now that are relevant to what's been discussed so far, or a new topic they'd like to bring up?
Eric, I have a question for knowledge seeker. Slightly offline a little bit, maybe.
Okay, that's an interesting intro. I say go for it.
Well, I mean,
is it for any particular knowledge seeker, or for anyone in general?
Anyone in general.
Okay.
Basically, I wanted to find out if do they wash the copper wire which have already been nano coated? Do they actually wash them with water before they use them for the material production?
Okay, I can answer to that question. And in fact, we don't have to wash them particularly. The nano-coated copper wire is just put into the salt water on the one side as an electrode, and another electrode can be whatever. Those are experiments we are having. First, we've been using pure copper as a second electrode. Then we collect some blue material, which is copper oxide or compound, and if we put zinc, we'll have white stuff collected, which is some kind of CO2, zinc, or I don't have the exact composition. It is in fact, in any case, a GANS material. A GANS which is magnetic and gravitational equilibrium in the plasma of that material itself, so that appears as small balls or bubbles, and with an equilibrium inside each. So that's why we have some spherical shape. If we take some iron, we'll have stuff which is more the color of rust, which is orange kind of stuff. So there are different material occurring, but the main aspect of the copper wire being nano-coated is the same, has been the same for the moment. Coating other materials is not always easy. For example, trying to coat stainless steel does not work at all, or just about. I've been using some by boiling some lye with in stainless steel half sphere has allowed me to have some black surface on the stainless steel, but not sure that it is really nano-coated, because I could still have some contaction with coating stainless steel. But anyway, in all the cases, we don't specially clean and wash the material. We can just put it into the salt solution for having it prepared for making the...
Just one moment, please, John. Hey, Brett, can you please mute your mic?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I just changed my headphones and forgot about it.
Okay, well, I hope I have...
Thank you. That sounds much better.
I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, you did. And do you wash the nanomaterial themselves? I mean the guns.
How to use the nanomaterial itself?
I mean to wash them, to clean, to remove some of the hydroxide.
Well, we don't wash the material itself especially. No, once we went through the process of nano-coating the copper wire, we can, because we have a process where we'll be having it dried first. After drying it, we can use it in the cells where it will start the process of creating the GANS material. So the second step, when we have that GANS material dropping in the bottom of the cells, that GANS material will be collected. We started by collecting by pouring out all the salt solution with the GANs produced into a box and then refill it with new salt water. That process, we then change it to the use of a syringe. Instead of pouring all the salt water out of the boxes we used, we just took from the bottom of the cell the material and then collect all together in a plastic box, allowing it to deposit. And that process has been done the same way whenever we had blue GANs, white GANs, orange GANs. Each time, usually we only collected one GANs at a time, even though they could be from different cells. Armin at one moment has been mixing some of this material. Anyway, each of those GANs material have the different magnetic and gravitational fields. But in any case, when we have collected the material and allow it to deposit in a separate box, we just take away the salt water, and after that we'll be washing the material, taking away the salt by adding pure water and repeating the process 2 or 3 times. After that, the last time it can be processed by washing it with demineralized water. So each time we make the mixture, kind of mixture, but we never have, in fact, dissolution of the GANs. GANs stays all the time as a stable material because of the local inside magnetic and gravitational fields, which allow it to be like a spherical aspect. So once we make that washing, each time we have to allow the GANs to deposit on the bottom, then take the water out, put some new water, mix it, and allow it to deposit again. So in that process, we'll be washing the GANs, and that GANs can be then concentrated and will be used afterwards, whether it was for Fukushima for use with the soil there or the water, or if it is used as we'll be using it further in small reactors. That will be a way to have reactors that will not be filled with any gas. So whatever the process of using that GANs, it will be for its property of magnetic and gravitational fields inside itself, and use as a collective way to have some magnetic and gravitational fields.
Thank you. And Mr. Keshe, on the last session, you mentioned that you were able to create a plasma condition with a nanomaterial and copper, coated nano-coated coal, where the issue of vacuum and atmospheric condition involved as well? I mean, when in this reactor, did you also vacuum it to make sure that there is no any
In the
material?
Coca-Cola bottle, is that what you ask?
No, I mean, no, I think I am not sure whether he was referring to the Coca-Cola bottle, but I think he was referring to the dynamic reactor.
In the dynamic reactor,
Yeah.
we do create vacuum if we are using hydrogen to produce a plasma. Then we do make a vacuum inside the dynamic reactor.
Okay. So the idea of making
Then, go on.
Yeah, the idea of making a reactor which will be using only nanomaterial will not require the vacuuming conditions then.
Exactly. So the process with the gas, because we use gas, we don't need a lot of material. So we start by making vacuum. Most of the reactors are, well, some of the reactors are nano-coated inside, everywhere. Each visible part has to be nano-coated. Some of the reactors are not nano-coated everywhere. The stainless steel has only a pin in the center which is nano-coated. The ceramic reactor has also only a pin in the center which is nano-coated. But the power reactor is nano-coated everywhere inside. The inside of the outer sphere, in and out of the inner sphere, and the pin with a small spherical bore is a small sphere in the middle. It's also nano-coated everywhere. The plastic spherical reactor is nano-coated everywhere inside. So those are reactors that have nano-coating that allows stabilization and to keep plasma even if the reactor is being stopped.
Okay, I have a question about that, John, and regarding how is it that the plasma can be kept? Is it kept right in the coating of the nano coating, or is it because of the conditions created from the nano coating that I can understand how it could, if you had a plasma, that it could reflect the plasma, or it could keep the plasma centered away from the walls of the reactor, let's say. But what I can't understand is the part of not vacuuming, because I would think there's still be larger particles left inside the reactor that would interfere with any EUV rays that might be used in the center of the reactor to get the ionization achieved with the hydrogen. So I'm wondering, where's the leap between the walls of the reactor and the center of the reactor? We know that, for example, if there's any oxygen in there or water vapor, it would interfere with the EUV and tend to block it out and not allow it to travel freely inside with the mean free travel due to vacuum conditions. Getting rid of the oxygen and water vapor from the vacuum would allow more of the plasma condition to occur fed by the EUV, which might be occurring from the walls of the reactor with the nanoparticles. Can you help me understand that more?
I think in what you asked, there are two aspects. One aspect is when the plasma is already there, how does it keeps and how does it stays there? And the other aspect is the plasma might be there or not, but more plasma has to be built up. I'll start with the second part, and that's where you add, in the case of gas reactors, we are adding hydrogen. Then we do need EUV aspect for ionization of hydrogen, but not in the case where you only put hydrogen in the system, in the reactor, and that you have some nano-coated material inside. The nano-coated material itself will allow the production of the plasma without especially having that that EUV needed. Let me explain this way. The hydrogen, because it hits the sides of the reactor, which are coated with nanomaterial, will lose its electron that will go and open in the nanomaterial, because the condition in the nanomaterial is a condition of vacuum and magnetical and gravitational fields that allows that the plasma of the electron starts to open. And that plasma of the electron opening returns and goes back to the proton that has lost its electron, because hydrogen is a proton and one electron. Electron being catched by the nanomaterial opens, then goes back to the proton and mix with the proton, opening the proton itself into a plasma. And that plasma will then go to the center of the reactor. So that's a process where you have a buildup of plasma from hydrogen that is inserted into the reactor. And because you have some nanomaterial that is in contact with the hydrogen, you have a buildup of plasma. The case where you add helium or nitrogen or other gas is to allow the release of EUV to help ionization of the hydrogen that will be in the reactor. So it's a situation which is not the same, but the buildup of the plasma is always made from the conversion of hydrogen into that ionization and opening the plasma of the electron and proton. So that's the build-up of the plasma. Now the other part of what you've been asking, how does the plasma can be kept even though we would take away all the gas? That's because the plasma has a how could I say that? The nanomaterial which is used is in itself a plasma. And that's why the behavior of the plasma in the proximity of the nano layer, the nanomaterial which is inside the reactor, is being kept because it's the same. It's a plasma also. So in the nanomaterial you have some gaps and you have some fields, and all that together is a combination of spaces in which you do have the condition of the plasma. And therefore the plasma, I would say, is happy with that and will not interfere with matter directly. It interferes with the plasma, which is part of that or those nanomaterials. So that's why if we vacuum the system, taking out all the gas that could be left, the plasma will stay and is kept fixed with those nanomaterial. Did I answer your interrogation?
Well, somewhat. I'm still not totally satisfied on. For example, I'm seeing in my mind's eye this rotating reactor, and you've got a nano coating on the inside, and you've got hydrogen that was just introduced, let's say. Now, what if you already had nitrogen or argon or some other gas, oxygen, water vapor, something like that, that was a heavier gas than hydrogen in the reactor, say if it wasn't perfectly vacuumed, or if you'd already introduced nitrogen, atmosphere, or argon as a insulating layer, wouldn't that insulating layer then prevent the hydrogen from interacting with the nano layer? Or would the plasmas still interact through the insulating layer of the argon or nitrogen, or would they act as a catalyst perhaps as well? So I'm not seeing how the hydrogen. I've always previously thinking of the hydrogen as always being in the very center of the reactor, and it shouldn't contact the walls of the reactor. But now it's more like it interacts with the nano coating on the walls because it needs to interact with the gaps and holes, and because it is an actual vacuum type environment in between the layers of the nano layers, then it kind of works that way. But it seems like almost two conflicting ideas there. You see what I mean with the...
Yes, okay. So in fact, the conflicting is not a real conflict, in the way that if you have nanomaterial everywhere, you can put only one gas, and rotation will not interfere in the fact that hydrogen will be everywhere. You have, because of the centrifuge, and if you add other gas, then you'll have the hydrogen that will not go to the sides of the system, But as we have, in some of those reactors, we have a center pin, which is nano-coated. There is a place, let's take the example, you put argon and you put hydrogen. Because of the centrifugation of those gas, you'll have a spherical bubble of hydrogen in the center. You'll have argon on the outer, but you have also that pin that goes into the hydrogen, and let's say the pin comes from the bottom and goes up near the center, not exactly to the center, or could be in the center, but completely nano-coated. The contact of the hydrogen with that pin is a contact with the nano-coating of the pin itself. And when the plasma starts to build up, hydrogen in the center will not touch the pin itself because the plasma is around it, but there'll be a part of the pin that will be in contact with hydrogen, and if the plasma builds up, it can be seen as a spherical shape in the center around the top of the pin, and that will allow the hydrogen to come at a certain distance from the top of the pin, but will also be in contact with that pin. The surface you have then will be smaller, but you still have a contact.
Yeah, I could see that now, the way you explain that, and also because of the rotation, the heavier gases will be away from that center pin, and it'll be a more or less pure atmosphere in the center with hydrogen plus nanomaterial, without interference of the bigger, chunkier molecules. They'll get sort of thrown off to the outer walls and dealt with there in a different way, perhaps.
So you won't have interference of hydrogen on the
outer
sides
walls
of the sphere, which are in fact hidden by the heavier gas.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I can see that. That could. I mean, it's a little bit in conflict with previous ideas of not putting objects and tubes and such forth in the center of the reactor. But then it was never considered that they would be nano-coated at that time and more or less disguising themselves to the plasma, or offering some sort of interaction with the plasma that would be beneficial and so on. Because before it would be, Mr. Keshe mentioned, for example, when I said setting up a reactor, that I had a needle able to go in to feed the gases in and to pull out vacuum and so on, pull out the air. He mentioned it would be like putting a needle into a balloon and bursting it to do that to a plasma. So I've been thinking since then that anything sticking in and touching the plasma would be a no-no. But now with this concept of this coated pin in the center, that really makes sense in many ways. So yeah, that's encouraging. Now, how many reactors have that center pin? There's only one or two at this point, isn't there?
So we have only a nano-coated pin in the ceramic, and in the stainless steel reactor. In the center reactor, which is a triple system, let's say, you have the outer core, which is nano-coated inside. You have the inner core, which is nano-coated both sides. And then you have a pin with a small, very small sphere in the middle. And they all three are with their own motor. The difference from the center and the inner core and the center pin with a small, very small sphere is that that small sphere is receiving the same gas as the inner core. There is only one feeding in the inner core, which goes through also the center, the very center, small sphere.
So it would be the same pressure in both the center sphere and the next sphere, middle sphere, at the same time, like.
Exactly. Well,
You can't vary the
it will be
pressures.
only the difference is in fact the centrifuge
Right.
that will allow the variation of pressure because of the centrifugation.
I see. Now, can you tell me, with that center sphere, for example, is that a brass sphere or copper, or what would that be? And would you actually nano coat that with an additional copper nano coating of foil, or would you just do the nano coating directly on the substance such as brass or copper? Have you
Okay.
had success nano coating brass to start with? We practiced a bit with that for.
Yes. Well, with the center reactor, it's copper everywhere, and it's directly coated copper. When I say directly coated,
it's a copper
the
ball.
outer
You have a little copper ball at the end of the rod. Is that the idea of the
yes,
tube?
exactly. It's a
Okay.
copper ball. It's and the pin itself is copper. It's coated, or it's directly coated.
Okay.
For the stainless steel, it's brass, which has been nano-coated. The brass pin used in the stainless steel, I've been working on giving it a certain shape. I have, in fact, I had to reduce the diameter of it because that stainless steel sphere has threaded hole in the bottom, and I had to reduce the diameter so the pin could go in that hole, and the pin had a thread at the end, so it could go in the thread of the hole in the stainless steel. Do you understand what I mean there?
Yes, that makes sense.
And on that pin, at the end, at the top of the pin, I have reduced a bit the shape to make it like a small ball.
I see. And is that pin hollow, you mean, or would that be a solid pin?
It's solid.
Okay.
And it has been nano-coated.
Right. And
So
what color? What color is the nano
of it.
coating?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
If you speak together, we will be a
We
problem.
both say sorry at the same time. Go ahead too. But go ahead and finish what you're saying there.
I wanted to add that the nano coating of the pin, it's the job Marco then has done. And so I haven't seen the results afterwards because I was busy on something else on another reactor. So if you want more details on the result he has reached with that nano-coating, he should maybe add something to that. And I'll just, so before passing the microphone to him, I'll just finish with my reactor, it's the ceramic reactor, and they have made a pin which is in fact copper foil nano-coated that has been glued on a pin that has been introduced inside the ceramic reactor. So you see the nano-coating is different in the different reactors. And okay, well then I can eventually pass it to Marco if he wants to give more detail, but I don't know if there are so many details to give.
Nothing special. Yeah, hello, Rick. There is nothing special regarding nano-coating of the brass. You just put it into. You just have to put it into the caustic. The only difference is that you have to use quite a lot of caustic. The best option is to make like a small hill of the caustic, and you put this brass inside the caustic, maybe a little bit, cover it, and in such way you get a higher temperature of the procedure. You put boiling water
We also
on
add
it.
potassium to it.
Excuse me?
Did you also add potassium to it?
No, I didn't use potassium, just caustic. We are using special caustic here. And no, because few workshops before Mr. Keshe explained that it's also important what kind of caustic you are using. There are different type of caustic.
And also, did you add any aluminum foil to it, or did it have any aluminum foil built into it, like our so-called Drano product, which is caustic plus aluminum foil?
No.
Okay, so
I use just caustic, a lot of caustic, so that in the procedure, very high temperature will appear and give the possibility that atomic structure will become nanostructure. So that's the most important advice. Use a lot of caustic. Yeah, then you just cover, but usually I used 2 containers, one smaller container, and because so much of caustic I put into the another container because of the safety reason. If one of the container is damaged, then you don't have leakage of caustic into onto the floor. Yeah, you always have to be very careful with caustic, and I would suggest also that you are using like safety glasses and some other clothes, safety clothes when you are pouring water onto the caustic, because at such a high temperature, water starts getting out of the container and
it can hurt you on the face, and so be very careful with this.
Yeah, it would not be a good idea to have a fully closed container once you throw in the boiling water either. That's sealed because it builds up pressure and could explode under certain circumstances. Okay, well, thanks for that additional information about the nano coating. Do you do 2 or 3 coatings, or 2 or 3 processes with the caustic over a day period each time, sort of deal, or similar to some of the other experiments? To do the I'm specifically on the brass, to try to get it to coat. And my question on the brass also actually was, what color did it end up being with the nano coating? Did you get that greenish bluish kind of thing, or was it more blackish color?
No, it was greenish, bluish, gray mixture of colors. It was not black.
And that would be over a week or two of working with it? Would that be
No,
true?
no. I used only one bat in caustic, and it was done in one day, or then it was also drying, but I think it, I don't remember, but I think it was during the weekend, few days, I think, drying, but I'm not sure. It was quite quick procedure because we were in a hurry to finish the reactor. So if you have time, I advise you to do more slowly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that information. So I'll turn it over to anybody else who might have some questions for Marek, or for anyone else who might be online with us here, including John.
Hi, this is Ivan.
Hello, Ivan.
Hi. Hi, Ivan.
Yeah.
Hi, Ivan.
I was just thinking to say a few things regarding to what Mr. Keshe mentioned earlier. First of all, about the heartbeat creating the organs in the body. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of cymatics, which is where they use sound, but usually they put the sand on a drum, you could say, and then apply sound. And then you see all kinds of amazing shapes forming depending upon the frequency of the sound which is coming from the loudspeaker underneath that drum.
Our group's definitely seen several movies of that, and we're fully aware of that. Yeah, it's interesting.
So that is, yeah, that's just something which is an application of the same principle, I would say. This immediately came to my mind. Then the other thing that Mr. Keshe was mentioning is the OASIS unit, because when I was before I applied as a knowledge seeker, I was looking for synchronicities, if it would be a good idea to apply as a knowledge seeker. And one of the things I did, or I sometimes do, and I did in this case, to ask for a synchronicity, is to take a book, open it on, just let it fall open on any page, and then read, what my eyes fall on. And in this case, I used a book which is called Life in Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Baird Spalding. I don't know if anybody has heard about it. It's been written in the 1800s, but it's still around. It's still in print. And so this book has the story of an American researcher Barrett Spalding, who visited India and parts of China, the Gobi Desert, and so on, and they met some. Well, no, guru is not the right word. Like initiates there, masters, and they were traveling with them. And at the page I opened, it described how they were probably, I think, in the Gobi Desert. They were caught into a snowstorm, a horrible snowstorm that would have killed them. And this master who was with them, with mind power, created a bubble around them, which would stop wind, snow, cold, anything from entering where they were. Now this is, when I read that, I said, this is the OASIS unit, because this is what Keshe describes as part of the possibilities of the OASIS unit in his letter, which says 2014, the year of change for mankind, which he issued on the 1st of January. He says no more tents will be needed, in disaster areas and so on. So when I arrived at, I think it was the first weekend, we got parts to make the reactors. I got this blue half sphere, and Mr. Keshe said, well, this was the original part, or from the original prototype OASIS unit. So I said, oh, that sounds familiar. So that's why I was now asking, since in that roadmap it also said that September would be the month of release of that technology, if he thought it would be possible to release it that soon, given what we are at, the stage we are at right now. So apart from that, our visit to the Vatican, I wanted to say something about, if you're interested in.
Definitely, we're interested in that. I'd like to hear more about that. We saw the pictures that. I'm sorry, just a minute till I have to get the echo off of here. Okay, so it should be okay now. We saw the video rather posted to Facebook, and showing the knowledge seekers, including yourself, and we saw a brief picture of the guards in the Vatican accepting something and so on, and the document that Mr. Keshe had. But fill us in on some other details, if you can.
Well, first of all, in the weeks prior to us going there, I had been following the hunger strike of Kevin Galalai. He's a Canadian also. He's, as far as I heard, he's the leader of the Canadian Human Rights Party, and he was having a hunger strike on the St. Peter's Square, Piazza San Pietro.
On that same day, I think it was. Is that what you mean?
Say that again?
It was on during that same time that you guys were there, right?
I thought we would see him, but he ended his 46-day hunger strike 2 days before we arrived.
Oh, okay. Because I saw a news item about it the day before the event, so I wondered if it was going to be some sort of interaction there. Okay.
He was asking the Pope to take a position regarding the worldwide genocide by the elite, to reduce the world population by reducing fertility and increasing mortality in 100 different ways. Now, he said in his last communique, when he ended his hunger strike, that he got in what the Pope has. Oh, got some really bad echo now. I can talk if I switch off my microphone. Okay, it's back to normal. Okay, so that is that. So anyway, there was, prior to us arriving there was already some pressure. On top of that, there's you're probably aware that there's also a Canadian, that Kevin Annett, has been doing all kinds of things and starting this international tribunal for crimes of church and state. Now, there was something which I found interesting. That was about a year ago. Kevin Annett did some action in front of the Vatican. It could be a year and a half ago. No, it could be 2 years ago, actually, when it was around the time when the previous Pope resigned. And the same day the Vatican was struck, well, the dome of the Vatican was struck by lightning, I think twice in a few seconds. Now, what happened, which you probably not aware of, is that we were standing in line there, and so we were arriving at this place where you saw the Swiss guards, and then they allowed Mr. Keshe to go in to deliver the documents. As soon as he got in, this thunderstorm started with heavy rain and lightning, and by the time he came out, it was finished. Don't ask me what it means, but it was a special something special anyway. Yeah, that's about. There were some other things which I was thinking about to tell you, and I didn't write it down, and I'm just gonna think of it right now. So that's it for now, I guess. Unless you have some question.
Thank you for that little bit there.
Okay.
Is there anything else about the event that you or anyone else would like to tell us about that there? Shall we go on to some other topic?
Yeah, eventually. There's nothing, a few more things, but I just cannot think of anything to tell you right now.
Okay, thanks. And is there anyone on the go-to meeting who has a question or would like to talk with the knowledge seekers that we have on here? Good time to speak up. Trying to see if there's any questions on the live stream. How are we doing there, Guy?
Regarding nano coating, I would say just if you have any questions, any details, I think you should contact Armin. He's the master of nano coating. He has done a lot of nano coating, so he has a lot of experience with that. Unfortunately, today he's not here, but he has done really a lot of nano coating. So.
Okay, well that's good to know. If anybody has particular nano coating questions, they can go through me and we can ask Armin or ask Armin directly. He's got a Facebook a Facebook site that he posts his picture to, and it's
he can explain you about steaming procedure and also about quick procedure of nano coating, where you put material just for very quickly into the caustic, then you put it under the water, and then you just leave it to dry it. And well, sometimes this procedure is successful, sometimes it's not, but he has experience with this and he can give you more information.
Great. Thank you, Marco.
I would maybe already add a piece of it. If you need to, in fact, to have a steaming process, you put on the floor of your box a lot of caustic. You put a grid on top of it, And then on that grid, so the mesh or whatever you take, that should not be on the bottom, but a bit higher. You put your material you want to coat. And when you put the water, it has to be very boiling water, the heat, the hottest as possible. So you just pour and be very careful because that boiling process allows a lot of droplets to throw away, to go out and to jump everywhere. So you have to be already with a cover on the box and just make a very little opening on the side. And you pour the very boiling water in that hole you left. And you should not go too high in the quantity of water you put in. So you put a lot of caustic, you put that mesh above it, it doesn't have to touch. On that mesh you put your material you want to coat, and then you pour, keeping the lid as closed as possible, just allowing a small hole to pour the boiling water. And then you immediately close it, and you put some weight on the top, so it keeps completely closed. So that's the process where you have to go, in which you have to go for that rapid coating.
Good description. Thanks, John. Appreciate that.
And well, for instant coating, or it's just about the same. It's a question of either you make a second process to something that was already coated, or you go for the first time, and that process can be done in such a way that you'll rapidly see the black color coming onto the copper if it's copper that you want to nano coat. Oh, am I alone? I don't hear any.
No, you're okay. I said we all have our microphones off here, so it's
okay.
Kind of shut. Guy had a bit of a question in terms of that procedure you were talking about. He was saying, is faster better? And how is it that faster is better? Some circumstances, I'm presuming slower is better in terms of this the caustic process, and other times it's this faster, more sort of a shock at first with the high temperature and the lots of vapor is a better way to get it going, right?
Okay, the nano coating, you have to understand that you put in conditions, and the heat process, which is a part of the condition, allows the first layer of, if I'll keep the copper as the material you want to coat. So the first layer of the copper comes up a little, and then the process of allowing the oxide to build up is done because that the heat allows the surface to start moving and to go up. So is the first process better than the second process? Well, they go in the same way in any case. It's just the way you want the nano coating to be made. In fact, the more heat you give to it, the more bigger size of the fields and the gaps you create. But it depends also on the material you want to coat. Marco has explained that with brass, you need a very hot process. I've been explaining that with stainless steel it's even worse because I don't even know if I have reached any nanomaterial because I have had stainless steel becoming black, but we didn't go further in the process to see if we could really have sustained results. We should maybe go further to understand if the nano coating is done or not. But you see that depending on the material you want to coat, and depending on how you want to go and the size of the nano coating you want, you have to go in one process or another. But mainly your experience will help you to understand. So I think the one or the other process is good as soon as you have a complete nano coating of the surface you need. So you see that's what is important is the result. And there's not one process that would be better, but you need in fact to have a good nano coating, and I cannot say much more of it at this moment. Armin loves doing things, so as he cannot keep still at any moment, he has to do, and the process of going fast is in the way he likes things, because he never likes to wait. So that's one when he has been shown how to go fast, he went into that way of doing things because that's the way he behaves, he works, and the way he does things.
Okay, I've got an interesting question here in the live stream, which is, let me see if my speaker's on properly. Yes. Okay. It goes, if we use 200 millivolts to do the voltage process, and there's high resistance, my question is, the nano-coated copper, should it be a the nano-coated copper should be a superconductor. Why is it showing us high resistance? So is it truly a is the nano copper a superconductor under these initial conditions? And if so, why does it show high resistance? That's the question.
You have two aspects which are important to see. In the longitudinal way, that nano coating is a superconductor and is in fact the direction of the fields that can transfer instantly. But in the transversal aspect, each layer is isolated from the next one. So you have isolation, transversal insulation, and high conductivity in the longitudinal side of the nanocoating. So when you put the nano-coated copper in the solution, there is a transversal transfer of the electricity. That's in fact what allows the copper from underneath to pop out from the coating into that GaN state, which is completely gravitational and magnetical equilibrium that you have in that GaN state. So if you measure how resistance, that doesn't surprise me, but that's what will allow the pop-up of the GaNs material out of that nano-coated copper. Yes, I see what Marek adds. The nano-coating is not perfect. Well, electronic microscope photograph shows, in fact, they are full of small crystals also. And it depends what the procedure has been used to. And the procedure will depend, depending on the procedure used for the nano-coating, you'll have different aspects on the surface of your material. So it can not be perfect, it can be better in some way, some condition. Well, we have no complete answer at any level, but we see the process happening, and that process helps us in the production of GaNs material or in the reactors as a surface that allows the containment of the plasma.
Dave asks, has anyone confirmed the makeup of the nano coating? In other words, I guess he means through lab tests and so on. Is there any new information in terms of the actual? I'm assuming he means the chemistry or the more likely the nanostructure of the material. What actually is it in terms of? Is it copper oxide, for example?
Well,
and what kind of?
There is certainly a copper oxide, but
there's several kinds of copper oxides and carbonates and hydroxides and so on. So, wondering if there's any more data on that. That's all.
It's mostly copper oxide, by my understanding. More data should be interesting to have, but we have connection Marco has had from somebody in Slovenia. Has given some data because it's a person that had the possibility to make some electronic microscopy of some of that nanomaterial. But No, I don't have any very precise results, except those that Marco has, I think, already given to. It was published somewhere. Yes, pictures, and it's not a full analysis, but there were pictures made, and there was some data, but I remember there was some CO3 mentioned. There was. Oh. I should maybe pass it to Marco.
Yeah, there were two measurements, I think, done. One with electron microscope, and there was also another measurement on spectroscopy, infrared spectroscopy. So one was regarding GANS material, and one was regarding nanomaterial on the copper. And these pictures were published on Facebook, and there was also a report how the measurement was done with electronic microscope, and there was also some spectroscopy done, X-ray or something like this. But at the moment, I forgot the results because this was more than 1 month ago. I can try to find it out. Right now it will be difficult, but maybe it could be published later on Facebook Spaceship Institute page or something. So all the details of the electron microscope measurements at the moment, I don't remember. Yes, X-ray diffraction, yeah, that was done, yes. Any other question?
Yes, I just want to find out, so it means that the temperature of the water dictated the size or the gaps of the nano coating. So does that mean I can use also lower temperature or almost warm water just to create the first layer, for example, with a much more smaller gaps between the nano-coated material?
So do you mean, is your question about the way of making the nanomaterial?
Yes, yeah, like how the way of nano-coating the copper, for example. If I want to go to nano-coat a copper wire, does that mean if I use lower temperature on the water, if I make just warm water, it means that the nano-coated which will happen will actually have much more smaller gap or smaller size, and using high temperature will have much more bigger gaps or bigger size.
In some ways, yes, but if you use hot water, it will become boiling when it gets in contact with the layer, the caustic. If you put boiling water with the caustic, it boils even further. It makes a very big heat. So in any case, you need the heat, but if you get a higher heat, you'll have a bigger size of the nanomaterial.
Okay.
In a way, the copper or whatever the material you use has to open up and go to the nanomaterial, which is in this case copper oxide. But if you have the material being in the water, the caustic water, and after a day you take it out, the process is slower, so the grain dimension will be smaller. But the fact that you have a black material coming up afterwards means that in fact it collects the whole spectrum of light. So that nanomaterial has to open in such a way that it will collect all the spectrum. And that's one interesting aspect and important also for that the nano coating.
And is there any specification on the size or diameter of the copper wire which are used for coating, or the number or the size of the bundle? How many for example, if you have 10, 5 or 6 wires, or just have one wire which is nano coated?
It doesn't depend on the size of the wire you want to coat. It doesn't depend on the number of wires being together, but you have to allow the condition to have the nano coating being made. We have been making a process of nano coating wires without even taking the plastic off from the multiple, how do you call that, multi-thread
multi-strand wire, they usually call it.
Yes, multi-strand wire. We just take the plastic off of each end of a multi-strand copper wire, and those ends were put in a cola bottle, and then we've made in that cola bottle the process of with the caustic, and the whole wire in the plastic itself has been coated, completely coated.
So when you remove the cover, the wire with inside is already coated.
That's it. That's it. So we just took the plastic off of each end, put those ends in the condition with the caustic, and then the whole wire, all the wires of the multi-strand in the plastic were coated. And that could be verified by having a multimeter making contact on the one side of the wires once it was coated, and you could find exactly to which wire it corresponds at the other end. So In fact, because you have that nano-coating is insulator in the transversal way, all the wires become insulated from each other.
Along that way, it's interesting to note that it's common in electrical wires, especially long extension cords that are too small a diameter, for the wires to overheat when you're, over supplying the amps through the wire, overloading the wire. So what happens then is the copper wire will actually turn black inside the insulators, and it will end up not being able to conduct properly because of exactly what you're talking about. It ends up being an insulator between all these layers, and in that way it's a poor conductor, and therefore it tends to burn up even more, so it's even more resistance and it overheats more, and eventually it will actually burn through the wire itself. But it actually turns quite black with the copper oxide, which is created from the high temperatures. It's quite interesting process. It's very similar, just using high temperature with copper will, if you get it anywhere close to probably 500 or 600 degrees Celsius, it's enough to make it convert into its oxide.
Yes, but the question here with caustic, you don't reach such temperatures because boiling water is around 100. With caustic, it could have to 120, 130 maybe, never the 200 or 500 you mentioned. Anyway, yes, well, the process is at a lower temperature than those mentioned, but anyway, the presence of the caustic allows that the proper threaded wire. So.
Sorry, John, we lost the last sentence that you said on the live stream. Could you repeat that if possible?
Yes,
Just that
okay.
last thing you said.
The process is done with caustic, allows the propagation of the nano-layering in the protection of the plastic of the multi-threaded conductor. So what is to be seen also is that the multi-threaded wire is in fact in some ways a kind of a tube that allows the liquid to go through. You might not have a big surface of passage for the liquid, but enough to have some liquid going past that in that multi-thread wire. I say that because I saw that in the process we've been using some of those multi-threaded wire with the salt solution, and as the wire was hanging, some salt water went through and was dripping out of that copper wire, that multi-threaded copper wire. The salt water was in fact going through and was dripping very slowly. So that can be seen as the way the caustic goes through the multi-threaded wire to make the coating inside the wires.
Almost a capillary type action as it gets pulled through.
It is a capillary type action.
That's a good point.
And because of the plastic, all those wires are in that same condition and having the caustic being acting on all any surface that are inside. Yes, another aspect is that for that kind of coating, the whole system has been left for 2 weeks or so to wait that the coating is done completely inside the wires.
So it takes more time when you're nano coating the material which are in the covered.
We have to allow more time to have it coated correctly.
Okay.
That other aspect, thank you, Marek, for your intervention there. We do have some bigger current that can be going through the nano-coated material. In fact, the nano-coating is also a conductor of the fields. So it's not only the wire conducts electricity, but the nano-coating will conduct the fields. And the field is what allows what pushes, in fact, the electrons to move, and that's what we are trying to understand better with all those reactors, and whatever we do is to start to understand the action of the field which will push movement.
Along those lines, I've read some recent research about nano layers acting as superconductors under certain conditions. Like we know that we don't have any decent room temperature superconductors normally under normal conditions. But inside a reactor is not exactly normal conditions too. You have vacuum situation, you have certain materials, certain gases have been removed, and so on. So what this research was saying that in those nano layers, there's certain conditions that it starts more or less like an avalanche process of the voltage going through the layers. Normally, they act as insulators, like you were saying, in the transverse direction, I believe you said it was, whereas in the longitudinal direction, the layers act more superconducting. They're able to spread the energy rapidly in the transverse direction. So, what if in the longitudinal direction? That's how these layers normally work to act as a conductor. But what they were saying was, under certain conditions, there's a laser-like effect that happens through these layers instantaneously. It happens in femtoseconds, and the layers combined instantly become a superconductor for that moment. And I mean like moment. And then that moment can go on again if it gets invoked again, this process. So I'm thinking that might be something to do with the idea that you have to spend time with these reactors and get these layers to line up and to sort of charge themselves over time. And eventually it's like a lightning bolt goes through, and bingo, that plasma lights up. It gets, the conditions are there for that process because of this interaction through the layers. And it doesn't take a big voltage. In the past, I've thought, well, it would take high voltage to be able to go through these layers because they're insulators and so on. But they're so close together, and they're in a vacuum condition. And in a vacuum condition, voltage can move very easily. It just wants to move because there's nothing to hold it back. So you have these vacuum layers, you've got these atoms between each layer, and you've got this condition where you can have a virtual avalanche of I'm not sure if it would be electron,
Well,
electron avalanche.
it creates a Bose-Einstein pair, which is a superconductor, which happens in the superconductors.
It creates a, pardon me, it creates a what again? A what pair?
Bose-Einstein pair.
Okay.
Of electrons.
Bose-Einstein pair. So
it's what's happening in superconductors. And that's the behavior of all these materials where you have, in fact, magnetic and gravitational fields in a way allowing the conductivity to happen in an abnormal way. Let me say it like that. Because in fact, that behavior of superconductor occurs in those layers.
So if these layers were able to become a superconductor for, it could be for just brief moments of time, but if you could patch together these moments in a way that they would be more coherent, then that superconductor core, that reactor coating that became superconducting would be more or less the perfect plasma maintainer, or it would hold the plasma at a certain distance away from the walls of the reactor. The plasma, if it started coming toward the walls of the reactor, would be either stopped instantly at a certain point or reflected back, I would think, toward the center of the reactor. Does that make sense? Under the superconducting conditions?
Well, what are the superconducting conditions? In fact, all what we are doing is to go towards understanding of what are those plasmas, and if we understand clearly what is said, what has been said earlier, in fact, the reactor is a kind of plasma, as our soul is, and we are going towards the instant connection communication, and that's the property of the fields, to be instant connection.
That's a very interesting topic, actually, because in the sense that for instant communication, the mainstream scientists have one of the problems in science is they say that, for example, this nanomaterial is a copper oxide. Yes, it is. In that moment in time when it was measured, it was a copper oxide. In that next femtosecond, which is a billionth of a second, I believe, something like that, very small period of time, more than we can even imagine. You know, it's too small to imagine in a sense. That particle could change to something else and change back to something else again. And it's in that femtosecond that the opportunity exists for this superconducting atmosphere to also kick in. Is the way I understand it. I could be wrong on that, but so the problem with science is they haven't been able to measure these femtosecond reactions. They're just too quick to measure with a camera or with their recording devices until recently, where now they are starting to be able to measure these quick things, and they're finding that nanomaterials, nanoparticles, specifically copper oxide and zinc oxide and tin oxide and some of these other oxides, have have these features with them, that it's not just one thing, and you've got these transition materials that are creating miraculous circumstances, essentially, down at that nano level. So it seems like we could take advantage of that, and it seems like that's what you guys are doing, and others that are experimenting with it. So,
well, it's the interaction of feelings, whatever emotion we have, and those are the aspects we have to be more involved in, and in which we have to become one with the system with which we work, with, in fact, the whole lot of the reactors.
yeah, and that absolutely makes sense. I mean, some people will think it's sort of airy-fairy or whatever, too religious or spiritual or something like that. But when you think about it, these nanomaterials are what are being used to make super sensitive detectors, and for all kinds of things, everything from blood sugar levels through to detecting the finest quantities of dangerous materials, everything from arsenic to dangerous gases, a full range of thousands of different types of materials are now able to be detected through the use of these nanomaterials. So if they're so sensitive, just being plugged into wiring that way, essentially, they find ways to hook up these nanomaterials to the nanocircuitry and so on. But essentially, our nervous system and our bodies, our sensing apparatus is probably, well, almost certainly, more properly adapted to communication with these types of particles, because we can communicate directly on more of a magnetic level, or more of a cellular magnetic or information level. So yeah, it seems like these little guys they're already sort of ready and tuned into us. We just have to tune ourselves into them and allow that information to come through, or to that exchange to take place, I think.
If I can add on what you just explained, Rick, is it seems to me like what we are doing is basically we are pulling out the atomic structure of this material, being copper or zinc, into the top layer of that material. And in a way, it's almost like we are bringing the soul of this material on the top layers. And by doing that, basically, we allow the interaction between this material and the environment to be much more easier. So if we are living in a plasma, the Earth, we are plasma as well, allowing easy interaction between the entities, basically by allowing the field to communicate easily. So it seems like that's how it should be.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. That's nice. Well, we should probably be wrapping things up here soon so the workshop doesn't get too long for those who are editing it, like me and Vince and others. And is there any more questions that are burning questions for these knowledge seekers while we have them on the line here? We could go on for a while more if people wish to. Or is there anything you guys would like to say, either Vaughn or the others there?
I just want to say thank you, guys.
Well, we reflect that thank you back to you as well, because it takes two to tango in this game, that's for sure.
You're right.
We need each other to. You need to get the information you have out, and we need to ask you questions and feed you with some information that we, the limited information that we have as well. So, appreciate very much all the efforts from the people at the Spaceship Institute, which could be anywhere in the world, actually.
I would like also to thank you, Rick, that you're organizing this workshop, and also to your group, to Guy, to Vince, Ludmil, Zeizen, and maybe I missed someone who is working in the background, Mr. Cho, yes. And really, I really appreciate what you are doing, and really big thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much. That's appreciated. And yeah, I'd like to put a special word in about my team, I call it here, we've been working with the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group thing every week, and the people that come and hang out with me, such as Guy, Ben is here now, and we've had Paul, but Paul's our biochemist who's out busy driving taxi now to make a living. That's the way it is in Canada. The biophysicists are driving taxi. So I just appreciate all the folks here that have been helping, and their loyalty, and just the fact they show up and help out and do stuff. It's a lot of fun. We actually have a lot of fun. And along those lines, I'd just like to mention before we go, we have our new reactor of the week, which is brought to us here by Guy tonight, actually, which is a really interesting concept, which is, we won't show a picture of it now. We'll show pictures of it next week, perhaps, but it's hard to get the video to work properly here. We have, well, to give you a hint, we were pondering this idea of how to create a reactor that rotates, that doesn't require an electric motor, which interferes with the magnetic fields, especially if you're trying to record those fields with certain devices that we have that we'd like to record the sounds of the magnetic fields and so on, the amplitudes and whatnot. So, Dave says compressed air. No, not compressed air. We've got the makings for a wind-up reactor. And it sounds kind of crazy, but one of the first the first phonograph put out by Mr. Edison was a wind-up phonograph. So what we have is Guy managed by some small miracle, which happens here fairly often actually, more than once a lifetime, that's for sure. He managed today to pick up this Edison wind-up phonograph guts, basically, in top. We don't have the whole case, the whole cabinet for it, but we've got the guts for it. So we're going to hook it up with a belt drive system and get it. We know it can run for 10 minutes by itself at 78 RPM on its huge platter. And we're going to hook up a belt drive onto the platter on a 10-to-1 ratio to get a 700 or 800 RPM out of our one of our reactors. And that should last for 10 minutes. And then
Yes, that's very interesting, but we are turning for 2 months, and there's not much.
But here's what you can do. Here's the plan, though. Let me explain. So the idea is you run your reactors with your electric motor for a month or two, or whatever it takes to sort of wear things in, get things activated, get your systems working right, and so on. Then, for the actual testing of the fields, you let the electric motor take a rest for a while and do a half hour. You have to wind it 3 times in a half hour, say. And you do your testing during that time where everything else is quiet, and you get the exact magnetic fields that are coming from the reactor instead of other things.
So can I suggest eventually another way of doing things? You know the spandulums and the big...
the what again? Say again.
Pendulums.
Yes, yes.
But you know there's
grandfather clock?
The clocks, the big clocks.
Yes, grandfather clocks they're called, yes.
And you have a big,
ratchet mechanism and so on inside.
With heavy weights.
Heavy weights, yes, my grandfather had one of those. That's why they're called grandfather clocks, I guess.
With that, using a multiplication to have high speed, and that would allow you to have some rotation eventually if you calculate it correctly and make it well.
Absolutely.
Have a long time of rotation without interference with an electric or magnetic motor.
Right. Now here's the other concept that goes along with this that I like. And that is, with a properly tuned reactor, you should be able to get it jump-started within 10 minutes of running, basically. So if it's a crank model, it should run for that initial 10 minutes that it takes to actually get the reactor going. Once you've got that plasma GANs in there, that initial starter material, basically, ready to go, and the reactor tuned properly and everything happening, then it should be an easy, what does it take? About 30 seconds to crank it up, a few dozen times to crank it or something. You let it go for 10 minutes and it starts itself at that point. Then the reactor is self-turning by itself by the magnetic fields, and it doesn't need to have your electric motor at that point.
Yes, exactly. But that's what should be reached with the nuclear material, as it has been told to us by Keshe.
Yeah, but he's also said that the plasma material can be transferred from one reactor to another that has the nano coating in it. So it seems to me that should be able to get started. It shouldn't have to take months to get a reactor going again once you've got that starter material. It should be, relatively quick.
So you should go with a bottle of plasma because it's a bottle and nano-coated inside that plasma. You can transport it and go anywhere you wish. So it would be a way to start to Yes, have a start of a new reactor.
The donor plasma program, Plasma
Yes.
donor program or something.
Well,
You
like
send it. You're sending little vials of plasma all over the world to start new little reactors.
but
What a concept!
In the past, there's people that went from light to light to put with a kind of candle to light.
Yeah. Right.
You know, to get this motor out of the way, it might be an idea to have just a long belt to get it as, because even if you have the motor, if you stop it running and it's close by, it still is producing magnetic fields on that spot. But if you would have like a long belt that the motor is a meter or 2 meters away, that would solve all these problems.
Somewhat. You'll still. I find that I still get the interference with a motor within many feet, as far as the AM radio, for example, that you have should be picking up a lot of static from the motors. If you were to amplify the AM signal off the radio station instead of on the radio station, and put it through a computer analysis program or amplifier, you find there's a lot of static and humming and noises happening from the motors that are going on there.
There are electromagnetic fields produced by the motor, especially an electric DC motor, will produce enormous quantity of electromagnetic waves. I would like to go in a new direction now, because it has been said that if in the space we have a problem with a reactor, for example, there is a ceramic reactor that breaks, we have to maintain the plasma without having any container.
Well, there's an interesting problem, all right. Especially if you're in a ship that you may not want to have the plasma just suddenly shooting out around in the interior of the ship, I would suppose.
I guess this comes to the pin which you have in the reactor.
Say that again, sorry?
The pin which you have in the reactor could be used as a let's say, holding point.
Well, in fact, the thing is, your feelings, your emotion will produce a container for the plasma.
Okay.
That's like what Keshe was talking about earlier with building this field around. You can build it around yourself or create it with that emotional body, essentially, emotional connection, which is the connection to the soul he talked about, right? Mark mentions the sun also runs without a container. Well, that's a good point. That's probably true of most of the stars too.
Well, this is what Keshe mentioned, I think a week ago or something, that he says if you would break the let's say the ceramic reactor, the plasma itself can create its own container again. He says what we see of the sun, the outer surface of the sun, which does not contain the plasma. No, it's the other way around. It's the plasma that creates the outer layer of the sun, which we perceive.
Okay.
Guys, it seems that we are not going to stop today. I have to go.
It looks like it won't stop, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should save some for next time around, probably. So.
That's for sure.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for all your inspiring words there. And we're gonna.
Bye, everyone. And
thank you. Goodbye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So ends the 15th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Thank you once again, everybody, on live stream and on GoToMeeting and on Skype and all over the world for participating. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye bye, everyone.